Chat Larry of $10. We're now joined by Jason Scheer, Wildcat Authority. Jason was on with us recently, has been on with us a handful of times since the summer of last year. And Jason, there was a story today in theathletic.com, quoted Mac Rhodes, who was on our show, and what he said earlier this week and even last week. Any movement? Is this someone leaked this? What's going on in your opinion based on some of today's reports?
Yeah, I think this upcoming week is a big week for the Pac-12 because they're going to hold the athletic director president's meeting before the Pac-12 basketball tournament. Everybody's going to be in the room. Although not confirmed, the expectation is that George Kolakov will present an offer, basically, and will present the deal that he wants to put on the table. And if that deal is not good enough, I do believe that we're going to see schools actively looking out for their best interests. Now, that doesn't mean that schools are guaranteed to leave, but I think things are going to become much more active and really as active as it's been since this whole process started.
What would the gap between what you would make if you left and what the TV deal would be and have to be for them to say we might take less money in the short term so that when the TV deal is negotiated in a new league, we get more in the long term?
Well, I think it's twofold because, if let's say $28 million is presented, that's not a huge gap, right? But if it's $28 million and everything has to be on Amazon, well, all of a sudden you're now $3-4 million down, and your visibility is way down. If it's $25 million and most of it's on ESPN, maybe the presidents and athletic directors consider it. But so it's not just money; it's about visibility as well. I would be really surprised if the money isn't lower than the Big 12, and I would be surprised if the visibility isn't lower than the Big 12. I think we're talking about like $25 million and not very large visibility. I don't believe that there is a strong offer on the table unless George has some major secret up his sleeve that even some of the schools in the conference don't know. And because of that, I think schools are starting to get a little antsy that it's taken 9 months and really there's still no offer on the table that the conference is considering. I'm confident in saying that. And we don't know what's going to be presented this week. If it's not very good, I think the Pac-12 is in major, major trouble.
Jason, there was the story about ESPN maybe having a hub here in the future, but obviously that can't happen soon enough to fix the current mess that's going on. That would be more for years down the line. So I'm just wondering kind of about the lasting long-term damage of even if they're able to, or once they're able to get something done, as far as grant of rights agreements and expansion and things of that nature, how much teamwork, how on board will everybody be, you think, post this situation? How much damage do you think's been done that regardless of what happens, there's going to be that aftermath of that to be mindful of?
I'll say this. Let's say the Pac-12 finds a way to basically save the conference this go-around. I don't see any way it survives when those TV contracts run out in 5 years or whatever it is. I think the GOR that the Pac-12 would sign this time around would be short. I don't see any way Oregon and Washington sign any term of long-term deal, any type of long-term deal. There's no way. I would be shocked if it was long-term. I'd be shocked if it goes past the Big 10 and the Big 12 contract. And it's a situation where you're basically putting a Band-Aid on it. Any type of survival now is just a Band-Aid for the next round. And I realize that people will say that's, might be the case for other conferences as well. And we're headed to the Super Conference and all that. But I think the damage has been done, and it's a situation where you're looking now and you're saying, well, why would the money go up in 4 years? Why was the interest of the Pac-12? Why would it all of a sudden be there? And because of the way that the negotiations have gone and the fact that schools are looking out for themselves, if you're in Oregon or Washington and you still have the belief that there's going to be a way into the Big Ten eventually, that damage, that belief, unless you're flat out told no, probably isn't going away. And I think that's one of the reasons why those schools are very hesitant to sign anything right now.
Jason, has Arizona spoken with anybody from the Big 12?
Yes, I'm confident in saying that Arizona has absolutely had conversations with the Big 12. Now, I don't know how deep it is. I'm not saying that the Big 12 has made Arizona an offer, but I'm very confident in saying that there has been some sort of discussion where it's basically, my guess is look, if this thing goes sideways, let's start talking numbers. And I think that's where we're at for a few of the Pac-12 schools, where if this thing isn't good or close to being good this week, I think you're going to get a surge of the discussions, and things are going to really move starting, kind of going into the first week in April. I know there's reports that things are going to get done, as fast as this week. That would surprise me. I would be surprised if anything happens before or during the NCAA tournament.
Jason, when it comes to the people who are most irritated about this, has it gotten to the point of the big money people yet, or is it still maybe just at their doorstep?
I think it's getting there. A lot of times these big money people only pay attention when they absolutely need to. And so I think it's getting to that point. I know that boosters and everybody like that, they have their opinions and they've made it clear, and some are pro Big 12 and some aren't. I don't believe, if Arizona went to the Big 12, I don't think donor money would dry up. If Arizona stayed in the Pac-12, I don't think donor money would dry up. I don't think it's there yet, but I know that at least in Tucson and University of Arizona, everyone has an opinion. It's something that is being discussed quite a bit, but I don't think we're at the part where major boosters are saying, look, this is a move that has to be made now.
Would it be fair to say that if all things were equal, Arizona would love to stay in the Pac-12, right? That cultural piece does matter a bit, doesn't it, Jason? This would be more of they just have no choice but a move being forced just simply because they can't make the dollars and cents work.
Yeah, look, I've always said the ideal situation is that the Pac-12 gets the money and gets the visibility and everyone stays together. When the Pac-12 ADs all come out and give that statement where they're committed to keeping the Pac-12 together, that's what they mean. They mean, hey, we would love to get the money and the visibility and stay together, because that means we got what we wanted. The issue is if they don't get what they want, you got to eventually do what's best for your school. And so all these schools are going to say the best case scenario is the offer is great. They're on ESPN. They're on Apple or Amazon. The visibility is there. They're getting similar Big 12 money, and they're staying together. They'd love that for happen. But right now, it just seems like it's unlikely. And eventually you have to start looking out for yourselves. And I think we're getting to the point where schools are starting to do that a little more actively than they were before.
I'm not trying to quote you because I don't have the tweet in front of me, but paraphrasing, did you not say, though, that you just don't know if the presidents or whoever the decision makers are will have the you-know-whats to make the decision to pull away?
Yeah. At the end of the day, I'm skeptical that the school presidents will have the guts, basically, to make the move if it comes down. I am legitimately putting on a fan hat. If I'm a fan of a school like Arizona, I'm worried that the Pac-12 presidents are going to take a bad deal because they can't get over the geography or the academic or that stuff. And we're going to see an announcement, that the Pac-12 has signed a $24 million a year deal. Now, that's not something I've heard or something I'm confident about. It's kind of like I'm the type where I'll believe it when I see it. It looks like it's an easy decision if the money's not there, but we've seen presidents, and I know there's a lot of different ones now, but we've seen presidents and administrators in this conference make really bad decisions over the years.
Jason, B-Cat on our chat room asked Jason Scheer how he liked the El Presidente burrito at Tunadito's restaurant.
Love it. We got a lot of Mexican food in Tucson, and so we got too many. So we, it's one of those types of towns where you can basically bump into good Mexican food. So yeah, that's awesome.
I asked him. I said, "Yeah." He knows that you're a fan of the restaurant, as is he. Jason, appreciate your time. Who knows? Another weekend goes by. What may happen next? The Pac-12, as of today, nothing new, and. But we wanted to get kind of an update from you. Craig has another question for you before we let you go.
Yeah, Jason, just any idea or any sense of, you feel pretty confident that one of those schools looking, obviously, for that Big 12 life raft would be Arizona, but there's been a lot of speculation, Colorado, Utah. Any insight, Arizona State, obviously, on what would be Are you looking at that four corner schools? Is that kind of where you're feeling like most of that movement could potentially come from, or do you think it maybe goes deeper, like the Oregon-Washington question, for example?
You know, I don't think Oregon and Washington move until they have a clear answer from the Big Ten, and that wouldn't happen until April because they don't have a commissioner right now. You know, I could see the ACC trying to get involved with Oregon and Washington, but the biggest Pac-12 smoke right now is that four corners. And, you know, it's an interesting situation because if the four corners leave, because they have an inkling that Oregon and Washington are going to leave, you know, it gets real interesting to see who makes that move first. But the most Big 12 talk that I've heard right now are those four corner schools.
Jason, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Jason Scheer of Wildcat Authority with us on 365 Sports. And, again,